Hello and welcome to my podcast. My name is Sofia and I'm talking about interpretative polarization across platforms, how political disagreement develops over time on Facebook, Twitter and WhatsApp by the authors Netta Kligler-Vilenchik, Baden and Yarchi. During our seminar with Professor Monika Eigmüller and Dr. Stefan Wallaschek, we talked a lot about social media and polarization, so this text is very connected to the seminar topic, I would say. So in the article, the authors examine polarization through different social media platforms. And they also propose a distinction of political polarization between positional and interpretative polarization, where people's view on a political issue is positional polarization, but how that political issue is contextualized and understood is the interpretative part. So the main purpose of the article was to find how the different qualities of different social media platforms influence polarization dynamics. And the authors chose Twitter, WhatsApp, and Facebook, and they analyzed how people interact with the social media platforms. They chose a particularly controversial case to examine the online polarization, where an Israeli soldier shot a Palestinian. They wanted to see how people reacted to this event and how polarization occurred and what was the public opinion. So the authors argued that the diversity in the choice of social media platforms created a diversity in the outcomes as well, and I would agree because every platform is made to be used in a different way, and also not everyone uses social media in the same ways. So in the findings of the article, the first finding that struck me the most was that across the three platforms, the contributions were supportive of the Israeli soldier, Azaria. And I think this is because most people that interacted online and shared their opinion on this event were on the soldier's side, and they didn't agree with the sentencing and didn't find him guilty because he was being sent to jail. So people ran to social media to show their support. I think this is because most times when there are feelings of injustice, people go to the internet to try to find others that agree with their view and their interpretation of the event, and they want to share. So I think also most people that interacted during this event were Israeli soldiers or citizens, so obviously their opinions are kind of biased. And I also think that perhaps Palestinians can't really afford to go online and protest against the regime that is oppressing them. There was some limitations to the findings which the authors were also aware of. For example, how such a small amount of data made it very hard to make generalizations, and also online contributions can't also be generalized as the main public opinion because obviously not every citizen uses social media. So this is a specific social media online case. The individual results for each platform were very interesting. So the authors claim that Facebook is the most conducive to polarization, which is not a surprise because of the personalized newsfeed and the strong algorithm which shows the users what they want to see first. Then, to my surprise, the authors found that Twitter was the most neutral of the three platforms, and they say it was because it's the platform that is mostly used by media or professional elites, and this had a depolarizing effect, or it at least limited polarization. Then we have WhatsApp, which had some interesting results because of the shared interests and group-based identities. This could aggravate echo chambers, but instead the authors found out that actually this shared purpose that the people had in the WhatsApp groups created a mutual respect, and it led to a depolarization of opinions. I think this could be due to the fact that WhatsApp is out of the three is the platform that feels more real, or it feels more natural because you are just chatting with other people, and unlike Facebook or Twitter, where you don't really know who you are talking to, and things can get aggressive or violent very quickly. But if you join a WhatsApp group, it's because you want to communicate and to debate, so there is this shared interest. On the choice of social media platforms, I thought it was very interesting that they chose WhatsApp because, even in class we debated if WhatsApp is considered to be a social media platform or not. We kind of agreed between ourselves that it's more like a texting app because Facebook and Twitter are so focused on the broadcast of information, and WhatsApp is much more focused on the communication part. And the authors acknowledge this at the end of the text, and they say that WhatsApp lacks a traversable network structure, but however, the platform does support entering into direct communication with others. So I can see how it can be used as a social media platform, and I did like that they chose WhatsApp and they included it in the study because it created a different outcome. Since Twitter and Facebook are so similar in some points, and WhatsApp is kind of the wild card out of the three. On the choice of the event, I do think, as I said already, that the choice of the event was very controversial. So of course this helps to study the phenomenon of polarization in this case, because when there is controversy, people will pick sides very quickly, and things will be at the polar opposites very fast, opinion-wise, I would say. But I do think that it was a very biased result that we got in the end, which left me with some doubts about the accuracy of the research, because someone could have done this same research, for example, and chosen different WhatsApp groups, because in this case the WhatsApp groups were mostly made up of Israeli people, citizens, and military soldiers. So of course they have a biased opinion and they will support the Israeli soldier. But if the WhatsApp groups were mostly made up of Palestinian people, for example, I think the opinions would have been the opposite. So yeah, I think there were some problems here with the controversial topic. So in the end, I did think that this article made a lot of interesting points about the different aspects of the three social media platforms chosen and how they affect polarization in public debates. I also found it interesting to distinguish positional and interpretative polarization in political polarization. But there were indeed a few limitations to the study because it was such a particular case. So I did think the article was interesting, but the case study was very specific, so we could not make a lot of generalizations in the end. about the dynamics of polarization, but instead we got a very in-depth analysis of the inner workings of social media during this specific event, which is very interesting still.